The next sunrise, here's Joe getting ready to go out with the MMU.
We have a sequence of footage now that are drawn from both the EVAs, interspersed. We won't distinguish between the two, but try to give you a flavor for what it was like. Rick says right at sunrise we went out. Dale's actually flying out here with Rick recording most of this on all sorts of film. About this time I thought that he should think twice about it, but Dale, go ahead and describe.
Joe had done this on flight day 5 and had proven that the MMU and the Stinger concept for capturing the satellite worked, in fact worked perfectly. And I essentially had just a lot of fun on flight day 7. No, on flight day 7, no, it all worked. Took a big load off my mind. I flew out a little bit differently than Joe had. You might remember Joe commenting that the sun had bothered him. It was in his eyes during the last phase. And you'll see here in a minute that when the sun finally does come up, I was fortunate enough to use the orbiter's nose to shadow the sun. So my approach to the satellite, and you can see that the shadow of the nose of the orbiter now is on the satellite and on me. And so my docking was a little bit easier with that information that Joe had given me from the earlier EVA. MMUs perform flawlessly, as you heard us talk about from space, and this method of capturing the satellite certainly worked well. And
you can see the arm in the lower right corner of the picture, which was a position that Anna had put it in to assist in our station keeping task.
Notice that the people who brought that satellite to us left it in absolutely perfect position with regard to its rotation and lack of nutation, which we appreciated.
We can't emphasize that enough. The satellite originally was rotating 50 revolutions per minute, but was slowed down by ground controllers very painstakingly over many, many weeks' time. Positioned and slowed down. And in the slowing, they left it still turning at a very, very regular rate. So it made our job absolutely easy as pie. Once docked, the procedure then was to use the MMU to stop the rotation, which was equally easy. You can see it's now quite stable, and the MMU pilot could then maneuver the satellite, turn it wherever we wanted it in such a way that Anna could grab the grapple fixture.
Yeah, this is a sequence from the first rendezvous, and it worked just like it did in the simulator, getting Joe commands to maneuver it such that I could see the end effector, the grapple target, and it went very well, very smoothly.
From an MMU crewman's point of view, it's interesting to see the large arm coming up right over your shoulder to suddenly grasp the satellite. This a shot of Dale working on the satellite, the top end. In fact, he just removed the Omni antenna with some very fancy space equipment known as pruning shears.
That was about the last nominal portion of that first EVA. Here we see where we first learned as a group that the common bracket clamp, which Dale has in his hand, was not going to fit at the appropriate place, which was on the common bracket on the satellite.
Let's parenthetically emphasize that was a very well-designed piece of equipment by folks here at JSC, and unfortunately we just didn't have the information available to us that would tell us that it would not fit.
And it's appropriate to add here that we had enough pre-planned contingency operations available to us that again had been developed not by us but by the whole team to carry us through, and we went to Plan B, as we called it at that point.
David was the keeper of Plan B. Dale and I had not the vaguest notion what it was, but we were confident that in his plans Dave could direct us. And the first step, he directed me to come off the Stinger, fly the MMU back to its storage place in the orbiter, and then prepare to hold the satellite at the antenna end while Dale worked on it. You get an idea of the flying qualities of the MMU here. It is as smooth as glass to fly. You just can put it wherever you want it. turn it as you want it. Interesting, you see here the reflection in my helmet of the bulkhead. You see the two windows through which the three other crewmen were working, or behind which they were working, and in fact, here at the last you can even see the movie camera that Rick has pointed out the window taking this movie. The bright spot on the bulkhead is the light that we use to illuminate the work volume out in the payload bay during the nighttime passes.
At this point we said, well, you can see Dale working in the back, by the way. That's a good shot of him showing the teamwork involved getting that foot restraint ready with some tool boards and so on so we can press on to the next task.
Meanwhile, Joe is getting ready to doff the manned maneuvering unit and go to put himself in the portable foot restraint, which is forward of where you can see there. And here he is now, and he's supposed to talk here, but I'm going to say first that this was not easy for Joseph. He worked very hard for a long time here, and both of the EVA crewmen worked very hard during this particular phase of it. We were all very, very concerned that this part went well, and fortunately it did.
You can see, though, that the satellite, although it weighs about 1,200 pounds, is only massive in orbit. It's not heavy, and you can move it to wherever it needs to be moved. The most difficult part was you could not tell really where you were putting it. And so we relied totally on directions from Dave most of the time and occasionally as to where it should be moved. And they would just say, over your head or more to the right. And we tried to be very careful that we were not moving it to a place where it would hit the side of the orbiter or a piece of equipment on the orbiter, lest it be damaged.
Joe was bringing the satellite back down into position for me to put the shower cap, as we called it, was a cover that we put over the nozzle such that small particles that were inside the rocket engine would not contaminate the payload bay. Here I've attached the adapter, that interface that will allow the satellite to go into the payload bay, onto the satellite, and I'm torquing down one of the 9 hard dock latches that we had to use in order to form a tight fit between the satellite and that adapter. Now Joe has handed the satellite and adapter combination to me. I'm holding it, and he's going to go around to get in position for us to berth the combination into the bay.
And it worked. It worked. There shows a photo of the two satellites and a little advertisement there.
We had to several times after flight day 7, when both were in the bay, go up to the windows and just look back there to make sure both satellites were there. There were times when none of the 5 of us really believed that we'd actually pulled it off, and it was certainly comforting to look back there and see both those satellites staring at us.